Hey there, I'm Jess, and it's so great to be with you for a few moments here today. I want to welcome you to our online version of Kingston Standard Church. If you are watching with us for the first time, or if you're returning to our channel, we have lots of different resources that are available to families, both on Facebook and on YouTube. All you have to do is just search up Kingston Standard Church Cabin Kids, and our Facebook page and YouTube channels will pop up so that you are able to access those other interactive resources. So head on over and check those out. Part of our mission as a church is to equip parents for the conversations that they will have with their families as they grow and follow Jesus together. And one of the ways in which we seek to do that is through connecting the themes of Scripture to our family videos. I would love to personally invite you to connect with us online or in person if you are in the Kingston area. We would love to see you. But in the description box below here, you're going to see a link that will take you to our website. Feel free to head over and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Cabin Kids, and follow us on Facebook as well. And on all those platforms, you're going to be notified of all the new content when it's posted. If you want to reach out to us with any prayer requests or questions you might have, send us an email or a message on Facebook, or you're welcome to use the address below here.
Imagine that with a really cool series of events, all of a sudden you're about to move into the home of your dreams. I mean, dream home doesn't even come close to making it feel significant enough. This is the home that you've kind of designed in your mind and put all the pieces together in your head, and it's in the ideal location, and the view is absolutely perfect, and it is the forever home for you. It has all the amenities of the most spectacular home you could possibly imagine. It's so incredible, you have to pinch yourself that this is actually happening. And the bank is going to give you all the money you need to be able to live there. So even though you've realized this house is going to be quite a stretch, it's going to have some financial implications on your life. Most financial advisors might say, I mean, this is not a good idea. You probably shouldn't do this. It's going to make you house poor. But it's your dream house. I mean, and it's only for a while. I mean, eventually it could get paid off, right? It will change your life for a bit. I mean, you might have to live a little bit more frugally. Maybe KD, Kraft Dinner for 10 meals a week and PB&J for the other 11. You may not be able to afford a car anymore because most of the money that you're making is going to go toward paying for a house, but you still decide to go for it. And so you've come through signing day and you get moved in. And a week or so later, you get this email. And it says in the note, and it looks like it's from your bank, that your mortgage has been wiped out and you can live in the house debt-free. All you have to do is click on the link that is in the email and it will take you through to your account and you can register and stop making mortgage payments today. Well, I mean, you think, well, okay, this has got to be some kind of a scam, right? I mean, there's no way this is real. No bank that I've ever heard of does anything like this. So you just erase it and you keep paying your mortgage as usual. And you sacrifice and scrimp and continue to make sure that all the money is paid. And so you've made it now to the end of 5 years. It didn't take you long to realize that PB&J, you're having a hard time looking at it anymore, and Kraft Dinner is not as appealing as it once was. But you go to your bank and you find out how you're doing in your progress related to paying your mortgage. And when you sit down with the loan officer, they say, well, why are you still paying this mortgage? Well, we eliminated this debt for you 5 years ago. And didn't you get our notice? And you kind of go, okay, no, hold on just a minute. I mean, could you imagine your response? I got this note. I thought it was a scam. So I deleted it and I kept on paying because I didn't want to go into default. And you're telling me that was real? I haven't needed to pay this the whole time? Where's my money been going? Can I get that back? Well, they say, well, no, because as you see in your contract, it's your choice to pay if you want, but it really has no effect on eliminating the debt on your house. We just had to eliminate your mortgage. You can imagine your shock, right? I mean, you'd be thinking, let me get this straight. I've survived on Kraft Dinner and PB&J for the last 5 years, scrimping and cutting corners, and there's things that I've said no to, things that I've chosen not to do because I was paying a mortgage for a house that I didn't have to. How does this work? What kind of a bank does this? They said, well, this is just the way we do things. But don't worry, you're not the first to be confused. We just love it when people are able to live in the house that is their dream and experience a freedom to just live. We think people live their best life possible when they're no longer slaves to a huge debt like a mortgage. So we're set up in a way that the mortgage is paid for. And, you know, even though it's true, oddly enough, there are still some people who choose to keep paying, even though they probably think the same thing you did. They didn't think it could be real, or there's no other place that they could borrow money like that, or they just wipe out what you owe. But it's just who we are. Now, of course, the description of a bank like this eliminating a mortgage seems unrealistic to us because all of our experience says exactly the opposite. And the French philosopher Simone Weil wrote in the book Gravity and Grace, the world runs by rules like gravity. As Isaac Newton studied the universe, he came up with fixed rules like every action deserves an equal and opposite reaction. Athletics run that way, as does the economy and politics. If you stop making your house or car payments, the bank repossesses them. If you bomb my country, we will bomb you back. Against that pattern comes a strikingly different pattern. From God, we deserve anger, but we get love. We deserve punishment, and we get forgiveness. Now, the Apostle Paul is writing to a group of people who are dealing with some of this same kind of confusion. The things of what they thought they deserved, and in the process, he shares these words. For it is by grace you have been saved through faith. And this is not from yourselves. It is a gift from God, not by works, so that no one can boast. This simple and incredibly rich statement from Paul, I mean, when the people from Ephesus heard it, it may have felt a little bit like a scam. Because the fact is, it was so much different than what they knew about life and about faith. Ephesus was a port city, and through hard work, they'd grown to become a significant, influential city in the area. They were a cultural center. They had freedoms and luxuries that were uncommon to much of the ancient world, and they understood what it meant to have to work hard. They had rebounded from a number of difficult situations, including being conquered by several different empires and earthquakes, and their harbor getting plugged on a regular basis with silt. They understood the way the world works. Nothing is free, but if you work hard, you'll be rewarded, and you'll receive what you deserve from life. And they also understood this when it came to their faith. They served many regional gods. They'd understood for years that when you honored the gods, you could find favor with the gods. You would be rewarded for doing this well, and you'd be treated like you maybe felt you deserved. So good times in your life were the result of the blessings of these regional gods. So you would work hard to be faithful in the rituals and to do good in a way that you understood the expectations of those gods and to live in a way that honored them. Everything they knew was about cause and effect, action equals reaction. Do this, get this. It's a pattern they understood and they could control. But it was impacting the way they understood the grace and the goodness of God. And Paul's helping us see here something's off. You've had those moments when you've known something was off, right? I mean, there's a time when we were on a long road trip. There was a group of us, about 10 of us, traveling over 2,000 kilometers. We had a limited window of time to be able to accomplish this trip because of some deadlines on either ends that we had to kind of meet. We had about 30 hours to drive that period of time. So we were going to have to drive just steady with several drivers in this large van with a trailer behind. And so at one point, as we're on this journey, one of the drivers is ready to get spelled off. We stop at a place and get something to eat, and then it's my turn to drive. And so it's at this point about midnight, and we're driving, and most everybody has already dozed off to sleep except for the co-pilot. And so as we're back out on the road, I'm driving and I'm kind of aware something is off. And all of a sudden, you know how you get that sense of things, you just kind of look around and like, something's off, I need to kind of check it out. And you look, and I looked in the side view mirror and realized that there were sparks coming off of the tire on the trailer. And I'm like, that's not good. So immediately we pull over, and we found out that, must have been while we were stopped, that the metal mud guard that was a part of the trailer had been bumped or something during our stop. And so it had bent in, and it was making contact with the tire in a way that was tearing at the tread. And therefore, by the time we looked, it was all the way down to where it had torn all of that tire apart, shredded it. And it was rubbing against the metal wheel, causing all these sparks. So we discovered that's what they mean when they say, this is not good. It's shortly after midnight on a highway in the middle of nowhere, and we have a flat trailer tire. Now, Paul's words are pointing out to us that something is off here with the Ephesians. It's off in a way that all of the strengths and wonderful qualities of the people of Ephesus had, something was still grinding on their journey of faith, creating more problems than they even realized. Because what was happening here was this contrast of mindsets that had come from what they had understood from their culture. There was this reality to life in Jesus that just was outside of anything they understood. They knew people got what they deserved. And so as a result, what was starting to creep in was, well, there are some people that are good, and there are some people that are bad. And so therefore that makes some people better than others. Some people become more valuable in that economy, right? And therefore there's some people that are more deserving of grace than others. So then in an environment like a body of people who are trying to follow Jesus, sometimes less grace is given to certain people because they're bad people, right? And it's creating disunity. And Jesus is no longer living as the center of their lives. He's gotten pushed out to the edges, and they are now the center of the way that they are judging and acting because it's based on what they think they deserve. So something's off in their whole connection with each other. And as a result of this, they knew they were good people, and so they were living as if this is what they deserve. But Paul reminds them they have had their debt paid, and their life now as a result is different. It's a mercy that came from God that's resting in the reality they didn't get what they deserved, and a grace that is in fact more generous than what they deserved. And as they had faith in this completed work of grace of Jesus, it allows them to stop working for a performance review and allow life to be lived in humble gratitude, in the freedom of a debt that has been fully paid. It's the gift of a fully refreshed life. So this richly simple statement that Paul makes to the Ephesians, I think we need to wrestle with it too. Because the fact is, when we really think about this is not what we know of life either. If we were to meet somebody from Ephesus, even though our eras of history would have some huge differences, we'd probably have more in common with someone from Ephesus than what we would even realize. I mean, we understand what it means to work for a performance review. We know many of us have bosses that are reviewing the work that we do and will eventually give us a grade based on how we do. We understand that debts are something that need to be paid. We understand and recognize that there are ways that we are treated that oftentimes are in sync with the way we feel we deserve we should be treated. So what happens to us when this becomes part of the way we relate to God? Well, it's a little bit like the French philosopher we mentioned earlier. This grace, this forgiveness, it's not the natural way that we see things at all. Because our natural tendency is to perform in order to gain acceptance. We've got to earn our way, right? After all, people could take advantage of this kind of grace. And sometimes when we think about it, if we just look at it, it may even seem like it's a scam. How is that even possible? So what we end up doing is we oftentimes will dig out a balance sheet for our lives. And we put on the balance sheet the good things that we know we've done. We kind of credit ourselves there. And we know that there's some bad things, and maybe they're on that list too, and we just hope that we're operating in a way that the debt is actually getting paid off and not, continuing to accrue, hoping that we'll be enough. And so we spend our energy and time trying to be a good person and not a bad person. And sometimes even as people who are following Jesus, we can get caught up in that mindset. We just load up on good things that we can try and control, and we're making sure that maybe our bad things just aren't that bad and they don't outweigh our good things, and we fall further into debt because grace is so foreign to us. And Paul says we can't control grace like that, trying to achieve and earn what we think we deserve. And Jesus shows us that's not the way his whole picture fits together. And the Ephesians heard that, and we hear that, and even so we can still struggle because grace and faith and work are things that are hard for us to kind of put together. The reckoning of our balance sheet is going to come up, and we won't have enough good to outweigh the bad. We will all have a debt to pay. The scripture helps us to see that. And it also helps us to see that the scam that is what we would refer to as grace, well, the truth is, it's by faith that Jesus has already handled all that we owe. And grace is not a scam at all. It's by his mercy that the debt we owe is paid. So instead of trying to keep on working and keep paying something that's already paid, and we can spend an awful lot of time caught in that cycle, grasping at good things that we think are going to help us in the long run. But what if we were to just accept the gift of a paid debt? Paul reminds us here, this is what it looks like to live in the grace of God. And we get to live in the freedom of a debt-free life, living with a new heart and mind, with good things that are not trying to add up to some kind of balance sheet, but actually as we get to be fully alive as a part of the life of Jesus. And Paul goes on to talk about the things that are a part of that they're not about payments, but they're actually a humble, grateful response to the one who paid our debt. So as a result, we can serve, and we can be generous in him, and we can love others in him, and we can forgive others too, and that can be a tough one. But it's all because of what we get to do as we follow Jesus. Because when Paul says, "For it is by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not from yourselves. This is the gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast." Well, he's shown us how the whole good news about Jesus, this fits together with this mind-blowing grace that is central in the picture. And through Jesus, we've been given life back as a gift. Even though we may have started out in the red with a debt we couldn't pay because the balance sheet was already too far gone, we know Jesus stepped in and got us out of debt as a result of his sacrifice on the cross. It's a gift we can't make up for. Now, if you had encountered on the mortgage of your dream house a loan officer who told you your mortgage was eliminated, that the bank was wiping out your mortgage on the house of your dreams, well, you'd likely have to pinch yourself first to check and see if you were dreaming. But if it was a real conversation that you were having, how foolish would it be for us to walk away from that dialogue and keep on paying? So, if you're somebody who is sorting through this whole picture of how Jesus has extended an offer of giving you life refreshed, paying your debt, or if you're like the Ephesians, that you've heard about this before and you've received it, but you still feel like somehow you need to make up for something and pass a performance review, so to speak, would you consider taking Paul's words to heart today and accept God's gift of grace? It is by grace that you've been saved through faith. This is not from yourselves. It is the gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast. We have the extended offer of the freedom that comes in life as a result of a debt that's paid. As a result, we get to appreciate life differently, and we can recognize it in the beauty that's found as a result of the one who paid it for us. Grace that we don't deserve, and way more than what we could ever expect. Faith that Jesus is taking care of everything we owe, and works that now flow from a life of humble gratitude. This is the gift of Jesus. Let's pray together. Jesus, we come to you today and recognize that you've extended a beautiful gift to us, the gift of a completely paid debt. And when we think about it, it just absolutely blows our minds because it feels scandalous. It's like outside of everything that we know about the way life works. And so we thank you for the fact that you've given us this gift. And if we're wrestling with what it would mean to receive this, I pray that you'd help us to step into that life that you are extending to us, to receive your gift of grace and to live accordingly. And if we've at some point or another received your gift of grace and somehow we still think we need to live in some kind of performance review and this all seems so foreign to us and we're not really living the kind of freedom that you long for us to live because of your grace, I pray that you would help us to recognize how you've given us back our lives. And now we have the privilege of serving and the honor of humbly coming to you in gratitude and serving you. Not to make up for something, not to pay you back, but simply to be thankful. And so, in the next few moments, as we participate together in communion, God, I pray that you would remind us of how grateful we can be. We thank you. We praise you today. In your name I pray. Amen. As we prepare to take communion together, if you need to gather some elements, I'll give you a moment to do that now. On the night that Jesus was betrayed, he took bread. And he was with his disciples celebrating Passover. And I can't imagine what was going through his mind as he was realizing what was about to happen. I'm sure there was a fulfillment of his mission that might have been on his mind. I'm sure there was some thoughts of maybe even the reality of what was about to happen being kind of intimidating. It's amazing to realize that Jesus continued to follow through with his sacrifice to pay our debt. So he took that bread and he broke it and he said, "This is my body, which is broken for you. And when you eat it, remember me." Let's eat together. A little later on in the evening, he took a cup and he said to his disciples, "This cup now represents a new covenant that's bought with my blood. I've paid your debt," is what he says. He says, "When you drink this, remember me." Let's drink together. Jesus, we are so grateful for what you have done for us. We recognize that your grace was expensive. It cost your life. Help us in our day-to-day lives not to receive your grace cheaply. Help us to appreciate the gift that you've given to us of a fully expressed life, a refreshed life in you. A life that now can be lived to the fullest capacity because of who you are. And how many more options and opportunities we have as a result of our fully refreshed life in you. We thank you. We praise you. We know it won't be easy at every turn. We know that there are challenges. But we are grateful for the fact that you guide us and you share with us day to day what it means again and again to live that fully refreshed life. And so we thank you. We praise you today. We love you. In your name I pray. Amen.
Thanks so much for hanging out today. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channels and follow us on Facebook so that you'll be notified of the content there and stay up to date with everything happening in the church. If you enjoyed today's message, it would really mean a lot to us if you would like, comment, and share the video so that others can enjoy it too. If you happen to be in the Kingston area, like I said before, come on out. We would love to see you. If you're limited to online connection though, not a problem. Just make sure you check out our website for more at-home worship. And like I mentioned before, the link to our website is in the box below here that has other helpful resources for you as well. Please know that you are loved and that we are praying for you. And we certainly appreciate your prayers too. We'll see you soon.